Happy to be back with you. Two Kings Boost double powered royal tone instruction guide, part like a million. So quick story before we get into the build. I've built 3 of these before. This would have been the 4th that I've built. I put the last video up. I did everything according to the instructions, and I recorded the second video where I was finishing it. You'll notice that everything's taken apart here. And the pedal functioned with pass-through signal, but it did not function when engaged. So I troubleshot it for a little bit, and that was in the second video that I did not upload. After about 20 minutes of trying to figure it out, I couldn't decipher anything that I did differently from the instructions. So I got into my bin and I compared it to other Two Kings Boosts that I've built, and it was built identically. I then emailed StewMac. I said, here's pictures of my work. Help. What can you advise me on? I'm paraphrasing, of course. And they took a look at it. They said that one of the wires looked like it might have been suspect. And I said, it's interesting you said that because I thought the same thing too. And the reason it was suspect was because I'd soldered it again, melted the insulation a little bit, but I took and I had replaced that completely. You can see different color wire here, and that didn't remedy the problem. So StewMac said, here's another one. What I did was I took the components that I know are good to salvage them, and this one here, that's in the trash. So we'll take all of these parts. I'll store them later, put them somewhere. So I can set this aside. Here's the new one. So what I'm going to attempt to do is build this in one shot here. If you recall from the other one, all 4 people that have watched it, I was building this for a friend so he could have one. And he wanted it white, no labels, and he wanted me to sign it. Well, this time he said, make it metal. And that works out conveniently because StewMac sent me a metal replacement. And that works out wonderfully because if I wanted white, use the other case. If I want to finish it any color to my heart's desire, right here I go. So this is what we have. I want to get my trusty PCB holder. I think I know where that is. Found you over here. It wasn't where I thought it was. Put that packing over there. Okay, so just like before, components, 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 instructions. So I'm going to just dive right into it. So I don't need the screws right now. They can go over here. The back plate can go over there. I don't need this until later. There will be a stage where you use this to line everything up. That is not required by me at the moment. Do I have diodes and resistors in here? I do. So the first thing I'm going to do is install the diodes. I could go through and make sure all the components are here, but I'm just going to trust that they are. I'm going to believe, trust and believe. These capacitors can go over here. Socket pieces there, one on the floor. Capacitors here, more diodes. Now I have one, I don't know where in the hell I put it, but I have a rubber mat that has little, I don't want to call them pockets, but that's what they are, little indentations where you can put components. And they are wonderful on jobs like this. But I'm going to assume that you don't have one of those. And as a result of that, I'm going to not bother to look for mine. Spoiler though, I wasn't going to look anyway. I don't know where in the hell I put it. It could be in the shed, garage. I'll leave the resistors out because I'll need them next. But I'm going to assume you're not going to have one of those. And I'm going to build it without them. So let's get these pieces in here. I have to remember to go down there and pick that one that just went on the floor. Stand by just one moment. There it is. Put that in there. A couple resistors in here. Only get ahead of myself. I'll get those out later. Okay, do this. All right. Moving those just off camera. You already know this if you're watching it. It's based on the Analog Man King of Tone. These are some tools that you can use to build it. Trusty soldering iron here. And here it's already hot. There's my cutter. There's my pliers. Stripper. The wrenches. You can hear them over there. And I'm not a huge fan of solder braid if I can avoid using it. Got a pump right here. And for solder, Kester rosin core. I can tell this is going to be a great video. So, next up. I don't want to admit that I use one of those sometimes. When you get older, your eyes get older, obviously. And for whatever reason, they suck at working. We're going to use a cheapo meter here, just like this guy here, and that's it. I'm going to worry about measuring all of these components here after I get through the diodes. And I'll refer back to this because I'm going to check these off as I go through them. And you could, when you start this out, check each of these components off. Like I said, I'm going to trust that they are there or that I have components in my bin that'll take care of it. This gives you a little bit of information on reading color bands, more information, how to solder. We're just going to go right here. Install the diodes. Get this guy here. See how I chewed that open? Didn't have a lot of room to get on there. And I don't have a fresh razor blade. If you've seen my other videos, I usually just reach and grab a razor because I have one on this shelf right by me. And I always keep one there. It's always, a razor is like one of the most handy things in the shop. So there's usually one right on the edge of my shelf that's above the work area. So you break this free, maybe. Get this. So this side of the board is where the components go. This is the side where you'll solder. The first 3 diodes I'm going to put in are the 1N5817. I've mentioned this in every video, but I want to just put this out there. See the stripe? The stripe's the orientation that matches the stripe on the board. So I want to move this here just a little bit for you to see. Make sure I'm in focus. Now on these diodes here, the legs are a little bit thicker in diameter, so sometimes I have to give them a little bit of a extra pull to get them through. You'll see that here in a second. And again, just carefully observing that line I told you based on the board. Now you could solder it like that and look like an idiot, which probably what I should do, since I've managed to look like an idiot a lot lately. This is what I do. I just grab my pliers and give these ones a little bit of a pull. You don't want to pull it too hard and pull the leg out of the component. The end of my solder here. When you're soldering something to the tip, going to get you started. All right, I've had a few seconds to cool, so I'm gonna cut these. When you cut your leads, you don't want to cut them too short to the board. You don't want to risk damaging the pads, but you also don't want to leave them super long because they're metal, they're conductive, they touch other things, and you can short your circuit. Okay, there are 4 1N4001 diodes. I'm going to pull these close to my face so I can look and see. There are no numbers on this, but I'm going to assume, since there are 8 of the other, and these are labeled, so we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, but only 4 of these. So it's time to install those. Yeah, there are no markings on that at all. So these 4, 2 go on the outer end, 2 go on the outer end. Well, on either outer end, I should say. How's that for better English? And again, there's a line on these as well. Let's see if I can bring that into focus. There's that line. So there it is. Focus on that now. Okay. Whoa, don't do that. Yeah, for the life of me, I went through, I tried to figure out what in the hell I did wrong. I traced the circuit out, made continuity places, so it would fart out when you engaged it, but when you had it off, when you had the effect off, it worked fine. Well, the signal passed through fine. So I don't know if it's one of the op amps or if it's one of the capacitors that had an issue, but whatever it was enough of a problem that I could not solve it. I went back through, I checked all my solder joints. I even reflowed a few that I checked them and they had continuity, but I still thought, you know, just to be safe, because what if there's something holding it up? You have resistance that's, you know, greater than 5-10 ohms, but still considered continuity. Is that affecting the circuit at all? Things like that. So I reflowed some joints, traced the circuit out. I looked for solder bridges. I even replaced a handful of the components. I thought, this one capacitor looks a little weird. And the weird thing was, when I replaced that capacitor and I engaged it, the first time through I had full power signal, and then it crapped the bed again right after. So there's 4 diodes installed. 8 more to go. Now, these also have the stripe, just like I mentioned. And all of the stripes on the smaller diodes should go in the same orientation. So on the 1N4001 and the 1N914, all of the stripes should face towards the rectifier diodes, the 1N5817s. Well, they're all rectifier diodes, but some people may not know that, you know, different types of diodes. So like you have an LED, it's another one. Well, the D stands for diode. But anyway, so it's just after the new year here where I live, and the weather can't make up its mind whether or not it wants to be full bore winter or it hasn't quite given up on fall yet. We've had some 50-degree days, then we've had some hellish snow days. And then some of the folks up north have gotten pounded really hard. We've been pretty fortunate where I live. We haven't had a horrible, horrible winter in a long time. I can tell you in a long time. When I was younger, I remember we would go door to door with a snow shovel. Hi, would you like your sidewalk cleared? And we would do that. Charge people, you know, $5, $10, whatever. We were kids, just, you know, kids going door to door. And there was a store called Jubilee. Before it was Jubilee, it was IGA Wissinger's. So Wissinger guy, Ernie Wissinger, he was a guy around here that he owned the IGA stores and all that. He had some property, like some grass field and all that he let the kids play on. I played on those when I was a kid. But anyway, we would shovel these walks, and we'd actually do really well, making a couple bucks over the day. And I remember going to the cafe at the Jubilee store. They had a little cafe inside, and you could get hot or cold meals. So soups or sandwiches, hoagies, stuff like that. And I remember I went in, I don't know what in the hell made me think to do it, but I'd gotten a sandwich and it came with potato chips, and I forgot I had them. And I had already eaten my sandwich, and I thought, oh, these are just plain chips, they're going to suck. So I put ketchup in a bowl, and I was scooping ketchup out of the bowl to eat these chips. But in the 90s, I want to say 93, we had snow that it pretty much shut the city down for seemingly, you know, when you're a kid, you have less of a sense of time, but it seemed like it shut the city down for weeks. Now they even talk about getting ice, even if we're not sure it's coming. They take the kids and put them on a, they call it FID, Flexible Instruction Day. So a lot of the parents complain about that because they have to go to work. They don't get to take off work because of the weather. So you get online and there's people, oh, this school district doesn't know what they're doing. And I mean, that may be true, but it might not be for that reason. I tend not to get too involved in that because, well, I'm not an expert in those matters. For me, holding the angle of the iron that I did, I flooded this joint beside it, but that's easy enough to resolve. Okay. So that's how your board should look with the diodes installed. Resistor time. Okay. If you recall from the previous video, if you watched it, all 4 of you, you will recall that I do not see color properly. And as a result of not seeing color properly, seeing the color bands on a resistor does nothing for me. Now this is where one of those mats will come in handy. And I'm going to have to get mine out for the next video just to show you. But you could sort your components in order, so you could have your highest to your lowest, or your lowest to your highest, however you want to do it, or left to right. So as you do what I'm about to do here, it would look a little bit more, it'd make more sense. So Just getting this trusty meter. So this is a 1K resistor. Put this to the side because that's the lowest value on the page right now. And if your meter has one of these knobs on it, okay, 6.7, that'll be our 6.8. So we'll put that here and we'll look for a 4.7. If your meter has one of these knobs on it, get that in camera, and then you take a reading and it shows like open loop or it doesn't read it, that's because you're not on the right setting. Just like that. So this is a 1 meg resistor. I'm going to put this to the side because that'll be the highest value that I need to work with. Another 1 meg. $6.8. Another 1 meg. I think that page says there's 6 of them. This is a little baby. 1K. $6.8. Another 1 meg. Going to be 2 more of those in this pile. Only going to be 1 more. That ain't it. Nope. Nope. There it is. So the 6 1 megs are over here. Let's go find out what the heck these are. Another 1K. Another 6.8. And another 1K. That means our 10Ks are going to be in this envelope here. But I'm going to put 2 of the 1Ks in. There's a reason there's 4 in this kit. One. So I'm looking here, and if I tried to do the color codes on this, I don't know. I want to read that again. It is 1K. So it's brown, black, black, brown, brown. And then a 10K is brown, black, black, red, brown. I guess they are all brown. I don't know. Like I said, I don't see color right. So I trust the meter and I double check myself. I have no problem admitting that I don't see color right. And while it is frustrating, okay. 1K goes here. And 1 goes over here. Where do you go over here? Just like that. Get this guy in. So when I went to trade school as a teenager, there was one of those charts like in the beginning of this book that tells you about the resistor color bands. And like most things at the school I went to, they were old, so the colors had faded. And then when you don't have good color acuity anyway, it makes it even worse. And I think I said in one of the videos before how I found out that I don't see color properly, but it's worth repeating. So what happened, I was in 7th or 8th grade. I was at my junior high, and if you were, a kid of some stature, your parents would buy you things, for school, your supplies. These are all the 6.8s. I'm just going to double check that to make sure. Okay, so, and follow where they go. So your parents, probably buy you things like, markers or whatever you need. And if you were a kid of less stature, you went to the community pile. And I fell into the second category. So I went to the community pile. And our project, we had to make a family crest with our name and all that crap. And you had to pick some colors that would be for your family crest, your shield type thing. And I picked black, red, blue, gold, something like that. I remember blue or purple being one of the colors. Like, so before, if you would ask me this, I would have been 1,000,000% convinced that it was blue that I picked, and then purple was the one that outed me. But I think it may have been the other way around. I mean, I'm going back 1,000 years here. Where's our other 6.8Ks? So I went, got my markers, I did my project, and we were only supposed to use, was it 4 colors or 6 colors? Whatever it was. I used one more than I was supposed to, and it was because I didn't see things properly. And the teacher, she got mad at me and yelled a little bit. Things were different when I went to school. The teachers were still allowed to hit you. They didn't. Well, officially they didn't. But it was actually during my time at the junior high that it was officially, like, we'll no longer practice this. Even though they weren't practicing it, it became official. And the teacher, she yelled at me, and I had a chip on my shoulder. I'm not going to make any excuses. I had a little bit of an attitude problem. And so when she yelled at me, I yelled right back at her. I thought that I didn't do what she said I did. Well, here, I did do what she said I did, but I didn't mean to do what she said I did. But I wouldn't find that out for a little bit yet. So I go down to the principal's office. I got yelled at. I yelled back. And then the principal was saying it, and I said, I didn't do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why he thought to do this. He goes, what color is this? He held something up. What color is this? What color is this? And I was naming them. And it hit him. This guy doesn't see color right. So that was that. That's when I found out. I was pretty embarrassed. But it's come up other times in my life too. Playing a video game. Look on the mini map and, the dot that's this color or the dot that's this color. And it's like, well, that's no good. It comes up in stuff like this. Electrical, identifying electrical components based upon their color. I used to play hobby games where you would paint your miniatures and, battles and all that. And I picked, early on, I picked colors that I knew, or armies that I painted, I knew the colors I was going to do because I could see them. At least I thought I could see them properly. I'll say it that way. And then after playing for a while, you start, you just buy the paint that has the name on it, Goblin green or whatever blue. So, kind of paint by numbers, I guess. Okay, so we've installed the 6.8s and two 1K ohm resistors. So let's get a marker and check these off. We've done that. Let's open this bag here, get some more resistors out. We got their capacitors. Hey, you come back here. Resistor, resistor. More resistors. Mr. Resistor. That'd be a good name for prog metal band. You could open up for Dream Theater. Okay. There's something that I'm pretty sure of here. I'm pretty sure that these two are the same, these two are the same, and these two are the same. So I can set them aside. And I know these two are the same. So don't want to get out of the way here. These guys are a mystery. So what are we looking for? 10K ohm resistors. Let's see if we can find two 10Ks. I don't think these are it. I think these are 47K. 33. Okay, these are 33. I'll deal with them in a minute here. I remember them being something different because of them being a smaller wattage component. 10K right here. Both are 10K resistors. Yep. Let's get those installed. Two of them. One's going to go right here. And the other one's going to be around here somewhere, I bet. There. I just followed the line a little bit, then I see the rest is covered by my stand here. This stand is not necessary to build one of these pedals. It just makes life a lot more convenient to do it this way. In my early videos, when I knew less of what I was doing about recording, notice I say less. I'm not suggesting I'm good at this. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a guy that puts up crappy videos on YouTube. But the thing I noticed was I would record while I was doing something maybe on a table and I didn't have a holder here. And it makes keeping things... If I put it here, let me word this differently. If I put it here, I can focus the video here and I can work from there. But the first few videos I did, I built the pedals on the back of a toolbox. Not even a toolbox, a storage box. I have one of these boxes I bought years back from Home Depot. So one of the jobs I had, I used to work for a commercial real estate developer in our area. And great people to work for. And I took my own tools to the job sites and stuff like that. And when I did that, I needed a way to transport it. Well, there were some things that you're not just going to throw in your bag. And I used one of those rigid totes. So it was, bottom was on wheels and you could put like your big tools in there. Then like, the top two totes, you could put fasteners and stuff. It was really convenient. But anyway, we're looking for 4.7K now. If I'm going down just the list this way. So get my meter out here. 47K right here. So this is two 47Ks. We want 4.7K though. We need two of them. And that's not it. These are 220K. So 33, 220, 1 meg. I guess we're going to find them this way. It's these two right here. Let's get those 4 7s in there. So anyway, in the first videos, I built these on the back of a toolbox that I had taken to pretty much every commercial job site in my area here. Earlier, I was talking about those grocery stores. Well, Ernie Wissinger, he naturally retired at some point and sold his stuff. Jubilee took over. Jubilee was bought, sold, traded, I don't know. And Giant Foods took over. So now we have Martin's in the place of those grocery stores. One of those Martins moved to another location right over a hill after some real property acquisition and development. And it's, you know, been there for a number of years. But that same toolbox that I was just telling you about that I built some of those pedals on was at those same stores that I used to go to as a teenager and buy stuff from the deli. The one store is no longer a grocery store. It's a Dollar General. And I've worked in there a few times. And, oh, no fun. No fun at all. Okay, so that was our 4.7Ks are in. The next up are the 47Ks, which should be these two here, if I set them in the right area. No, these were the 220s. That's right, these were the 220s. 33, 220, 1 meg. These are the 47s right here. According to the destructions, a 47 is yellow, violet, black, red, brown. I would never get that right. Not in a million years. I wonder if I've always been color deficient, color blind, whatever you want to call it. Because I see color. I do see color. I wonder sometimes, am I seeing the same color that... Not even the same like color. I don't mean like that we see red and blue exactly the same. I just mean... For example, when I'm looking at it and I see blue, and to me, you know, these have a medium blue shade to them. When you see blue, does it look like the same way that I see blue? Or I'm wording that really poorly, because obviously we don't see them the same if you see color properly and I don't. I guess maybe what I'm saying is I wonder if the world is just as vibrant to me as it is you. I just see the vibrance differently. I bet you they can measure that too, because it can tell you how deficient I am based upon those number books, where you look at the book, what number do you see? Do you see a number 10, 12, 24, what is it? Okay. So the 47s are done. Remember, these are the extra ones. Just going to put them off camera right here. Go to the next page here. 220 is the very first one. Remember, these two here are our 220s. Red, red, black, orange, brown. Sure, that's what they are. I feel like I managed to hide this from my shop teacher. But I mean, he couldn't have been that dumb. The guy was brilliant. Fred Barish was his name. I think he has since passed away. But he was a great teacher. He'd yell at us. I love saying it that way for people, but he actually gave a crap about us doing well. He would have yelled at me for that solder joint, I can tell you that. But he lived up the mountain from us. And I remember him just complaining about driving to the school in the winter because people don't know how to drive. And when you're a teenager and you're just getting on the bus and going to school, or walking and going to school, you're like, what are you complaining about? And then you get older and you start driving and you're like, yeah, Mr. B was on to something. But in Mr. Barish's class, he called us all by our last name. And he's, very militant like. But he was very, very intelligent when it came to electrical work. He would always let us bring in little projects and he would help us with them. Well, what I was saying about my color deficiency, he had to have known when I always reached for a meter and I never just read the color bands. I think the only time I did was for a test that we had to do on color bands very early on into the class, and I don't know how I passed it. So these are our 1 megs. There's 6 of these. And what's really nice about these boards is it tells you where they need to go. You know where the component has to go. There's holes, it's labeled. So on these, if you can just follow the instructions, you can build a pedal. And I say this as someone that just admitted that my last one didn't work. But I'm convinced wholly, completely, thoroughly that it wasn't a mistake I made. I watched the videos, both of them. I watched the one that I uploaded plus the one that I did not upload. I followed the steps through the book. I probably should have just spent that time building this and recording it rather than trying to figure it out. But you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men, right? For the life of me, I can't figure out what I did wrong. Here, I thought I tightened that, and it doesn't appear that I've made a difference, does it? I'll adjust that here in a second after I flip this around and solder these. I like the StewMac kits a lot. I find that they're well laid out, the instructions are there, the components are sorted. Well, not sorted, the components are picked for you. You don't have to go to a supplier and find them. So there was a website where you could go and the guy would sell kits, and they were great. Everything you needed, you picked the pedal that you wanted to build and bought the kit, and the components were there. That's what you had to do, was just, oh, I want to build a Klon today. I want to build a tube screamer. And you just go to the site and you'd buy the kit that fit that. And I can tell you that it's a lot of work to source components, because when you're running a business, okay, Everything's going to be about your margin. How much profit can I make on each item that I'm selling? And how long does it take me to make that profit? So you may be able to, oh, I have a really good hookup on whatever resistor or diode or cap, and you order from that site, and each one's, I don't know, we'll say 2 pennies. So your component costs 2 cents. But at the other website, if you buy, 1,000 of them, they might cost 2.1 cents, but you get free shipping at that website, and you buy other components from that website. I don't want to have to go through and go, Mauser's cheaper on this, Tiger's cheaper on this, Small Bear is what I meant, not Tiger. I don't even know if Tiger Direct's still a thing anymore, and that's a computer place anyway. Tata is cheaper on this, whatever. I don't have the patience, I don't have the desire, and quite frankly, this is just something I do for stress relief and fun. I like to do other things too, but I enjoy doing this. The price point isn't too bad to have an activity to do. You get something that you can use, something you can give away, whatever. But I don't have the time in my life to go looking for components. It's not my cup of tea. Well, with the build your own clone pedals, they came with what you needed, and he had a hell of a selection. I built most of the kits that were in stock over the years, and they were a lot of fun. Well, then one day he decided to close shop. Obviously, it's a difficult business to be in. He fulfilled some people's orders, not other people. Some people didn't get their money back. Some people had to file chargebacks. I was one of those. I filed a chargeback on my card. And blah, 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 fast forward. You can go to other sites. There's Tata Electronics. No, not Tata. I don't know if they sell any kits, so I don't want to say they don't. I don't know if they do. StompboxParts.com sells a few ready-made kits. StewMac does. General Guitar Gadgets. There's an Asian company called Lantone that sells on Amazon and eBay. Oh, sugar. There's another one that's right on the tip of my tongue. It'll hit me. So when Build Your Own Clone goes out, your other options are go to those places that I just mentioned that have kits, or there is a website, Pedal PCB. That's actually where these PCBs come from that StewMac gets. And you can buy the PCBs, and then they'll give you a component list. You can source the components and get a spreadsheet, put an order in, all sorts of fun. I don't have the time for that. Or no, I shouldn't say I don't have the time. I don't have the patience for that. I could make the time, but I do not have the patience to do that. I don't think that's going to be something that I do anytime soon, if there's still other kits I can build. So I kind of went on a little rant there. I'm doing too many things at once. My brain doesn't function well, I guess. I guess the more of these videos I put out, the more you'll see that I am not a very smart guy. Those resistors are in. That's our 33Ks. I wanted to have this done before Christmas so I could give it to my friend as a gift. And then I told you what happened. So that kind of bummed me out. But I will say StewMac was faster than heck getting me those new ones. All right, so there's 4 resistors left here. I wonder what they are. Two of them are going to be 27Ks, that's for sure. There's one. There's 100K. Hey. Another 100K. So then process of elimination, this is a 27K. Yep. I'll get to why there's two of those and two of those 1Ks left in a minute. Let's put these 27s in and get to that. Now, instead of bending the legs like I've done on these and then just soldered a couple at a time, what you can do is you can populate the board, pull your components through, and then you can use a piece of blue tape. Well, you can use any tape. I say blue tape because there's just rolls of that shit always in my house. It's convenient. Because ideally, you actually don't want to have to cut these like going that way towards another component. Because you don't want to bridge any gaps. You don't want to connect components that aren't meant to be connected. Okay, so let's mark these like this. So all those are done. What do I have here? I have two 100K ohm resistors, and I have two 1K ohm resistors. So the 1Ks are here, the 100Ks are here. Turn my meter off. Go to the next page. Install your last two resistors. The last two resistors, the locations are marked 1K and 100K on the board. We included pairs of 1 and 100K to give the builder the option to modify the gain stage of the circuit. The stock Analog Man King of Tone uses 1K resistors for a nice clean crunch. For a higher gain level, instead use one or both 100K resistors. A commonly used setup is a 1K on the left side foot switch, the resistor located on the right side of the circuit board, and a 100K right side foot switch, the resistor located on the left side of the circuit board. So I'm going to build it that way. I'm going to do 1 and 1 because that's what my buddy wanted. So what do we have here? Stock uses 1K for both. Commonly used setup is a 1K on the left side, so the resistor on the right side of the circuit board. So put a 1K right here. And then 100K on the other one. What am I doing? These extra resistors can just go over into this pile for no other reason. Here's what will happen with them. I'll leave them there, and then I will not dig them out forever. And I'll keep finding them thinking, oh, I need to do something with these. I need to do something with these. And then over time, I will do nothing with them, and then they will get thrown out, misplaced, or lost. Then I'll go to look for one. Oh, I could use a 100K ohm resistor for this. Yeah, you could, but you won't. You have components, pieces, parts. Okay, where's my trim pots? Next on the agenda is 2 trim pots. They have 3 tabs on them. This is just a resistor that is, resistor. It's just a variable resistor. But what this is just one of these, only smaller. And these both have the same value. They're both 50K trim pots. There's 3 legs. They can only fit into the circuit board one way. Just line them up just right. And then, remember what I said about the tape? Now, while these do the job of a big pot, they're a little bit more fragile. They're not meant to be turned up and down repeatedly. They're just like big potentiometer, you're turning that knob, nothing's really going to happen to it in pretty much forever. Okay. But what do? You'll have these moments. So this step's done. We did 1, 1, and this is done. Big dip switch right here. Just like so. It's one of these legs bent. I'm just going to move my stool so I can sit down. Let's see what's going on here. I think this one leg might be a little bit bent. Yep. Thought it might have been that hole that I had solder in, but no. Things pass through that just fine. Yeah, that's good. I don't know if that popped up a little bit. Did not. There's some trouble in paradise, I guess, here in our city. There's going to be a bunch of hearings to change our zoning code. Not our code. They want to change the code as it's written so they can allow things that normally aren't permitted in zoning in residential areas to take place. And there's a lot of people pissed off about it. That's in our local news. And then also, this is it's terrible, it's sad, it's all of the above. So there was a fist fight that had taken place at a local bar, and, well, brawl. A handful of people were involved in it. There's a lot of details, but the long story short is that there's a dude in jail with a bunch of charges, like not attempted murder, I'm sorry, homicide, because the guy died, and things like that. All the related charges. I could find out, but, you know, I'm building the pedal. I don't know. And what had happened so far, I mean, there's details that'll come out, I'm sure, but there was a fight at a local bar. Someone got in between someone else. People were mouthing off, doing whatever. Dude hit another dude, and that guy never got back up. And regardless of who did what, okay, or like personal feelings for either person in the matter, I don't think anybody went out that night with the intention to kill anyone or to go out and die. The guy that died, he had just gotten married in, I think, June, maybe it was. And just turned 41 a couple days prior. And now, instead of going to a first wedding anniversary next year, the family, that would be his new wife, their stepchildren, his children, his previous wife, all that, his friends, everything. They're planning a funeral. And then the other guy, he's going to be in jail for a while till they get that all sorted out. I don't think that went in right. So that's pretty terrible. You never know when it's your time. And there's a lot of drama online about it. There's people, and the guy hasn't even been buried yet. In the comments on Facebook, people are making either way, you know, for either side, like, hey, my guy didn't do anything wrong, or, you know, your guy's an asshole and deserved it, whatever, you know. And I'm not on either side of this. I'm removed from it. It's just like, man, poor family hasn't even buried the body, and you guys are being rotten. But that's society these days. The dude that died is actually my neighbor. He and I didn't always get along well, but nothing like that. Jesus. And I knew the other guy too. I knew of him from the boxing scene because he's a boxer, and I know people he trains with. So, if you're thinking you're having a bad day, just think to yourself, at least you're not going to jail. And let's play devil's advocate here. You know, no one's taking a side, making a stance. Let's say the dude is found not guilty of the crimes. It's self-defense, right? What's the rest of his life look like? How much money does it take to clear your name? Does the other family have people that are going to, you know, come looking for you? It's all of this over whatever fight, you know? It's almost like, I bet everyone wishes they could take back everything they did that night. That's for damn sure. but the Facebook drama is pretty wild. I was taught that you don't say anything bad about the dead. You know, they're dead, they're dead. I mean, obviously there's exceptions. You know, it's fair to talk bad about Stalin or Chairman Mao or Hitler or whatever. But so, I don't know, just wild. These are all in. Oh, I wanted to make a mention of this and I forgot to. So there will either be a dot or an indentation on your chips, and they will also be on the sockets. You want to make sure they align to where the circuit board indicates that they go. Okay, time for some capacitors. All right, so on the capacitors, these are electrolytic capacitors. They are polarized. And make sure my board's in focus. So there's a stripe, the stripe's negative, and the longer leg is positive. So I look here at this board, this is where this goes. There's a square and a plus for the positive, which means that line should go to the negative line should be opposite of the positive indicator there. And then another one here, so the positive leg goes in here. The negative leg goes like that. I was just checking, I'm like, did I do that one right? Because I don't remember them being opposite, but I did. I am not mistaken. I was hoping I solved the mystery because I would rather be able to be like, oh yeah, okay, that was the problem. But at this point with that one, I'm leaning towards faulty component. Which is wild because the StewMac kits use good quality stuff. And that's another reason I like them. I like good quality components. You know, some of the Chinese kits you get on eBay, they're not using the level of quality these other people are. Same deal with this one, it's just going to be larger. Still a stripe, just like before. In my other build, I actually ended up replacing these resistors, all three of them. Well, all six of them, but all three values, to see if that was the case, and it was not. And get this other bag. There's 3 more of these electrolytic caps, which are polarized. The remaining capacitors are not polarized. They will do their job in either orientation. So you do not need to observe any special polarity with them. There's one. These have a way of making me seem silly. Okay, so those steps are all done. Now we can move on to the fun part. These guys, I don't know why I said fun. It's not really any more difficult or less difficult. There's nothing wrong with it. Try and orient that a little better. Make sure I didn't do any damage there. We're just going to take a quick break. Well, not a break. I just want to look at my work. See if I need to touch any of these up. I have one that doesn't need touched up. I just don't want it to bridge. Then I'll resolder that. So what happened there was, it wasn't touching, but I didn't like how it looked. And I figured I could clean it up. Just make sure that it's properly soldered. Okay. What do we got here? That all looks good. All right. Now to this step. We'll do it in the order that it says to do it. This bag out of the way. Take a quick green tea pause. All right. So the very first two, we're going to go here. and here. Then we have 222 here to go in. That's this one and this one. So put them in as well. One here. And the other one goes right here. So those are in the board. Those are in the board. Then there are 8 of these. I have all 8, yep. Three in a row right here. Wait a minute. No, 2 in a row right here. Yeah. One right here. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where's number 8 go? Oh, I remember that one. That's a difficult one to fit in. This should have been the first one to go in. That's a tight fit. I'm going to bang these out real quick. Quickly, I should say. Don't worry, that's not a burn mark there. That's just a flux. It got hot. Oh, I missed one. See that? Ha ha. Dummy, dummy, dummy. That's why we double check our work. Especially when you're doing 20,000 components. I'll be honest with you though, I like the kits that have more to them. There's just something really rewarding about doing this. when things work right. Now, if they don't work right, then you're like, And as I said, I've had a few that didn't. I had two Kings that I built that didn't work, and another one that I built that didn't work was the slow gear. But also that was another StewMac kit, and StewMac replaced it. They looked at my soldering, same thing, you know, more than likely wasn't it. So maybe a minor component failure that was easier to just issue a new kit rather than replace. Gonna pull this off camera for just 1 second. Just so I can get it closer to my face without putting my head in the camera. There we are, no change. Just wanted to touch a joint. Now I'm cutting the leads. When it's the longer resistor legs, you can grab a hold of it easier. But when it's these ones, and you're trying to cut them short, you kind of have to have your finger over it, and I don't want to find all these little metal pieces with my feet. But I guess I shouldn't really even be worrying about that, because I guess my barefoot days are done, according to the doctor. I got diagnosed with what's called hallux, I don't know how you pronounce it, rigidus, and end-stage arthritis, and something else, and a piece of bone, and some other bullshit, and it sucks. And she's like, quit walking around barefoot, and get an orthotic, and you're gonna get surgery. And I said, do I need it? And she said, well, maybe not. You know, some people go a long time without it. I said, what's the determining factor? And the answer was, can you withstand the pain any longer and the limited mobility? And I said, well, if we get the surgery, do I get my mobility back? She said, yeah, temporarily. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, those bone spurs and that arthritis, it came from somewhere. Your body makes these bone spurs to protect itself, which ironically freezes the joint. So she said they would go in and do what's called a chelectomy, I don't know how you say it. And they take out the bone spurs, they clean up the joint, and then I have a piece of broken bone floating around in there too, I guess. And they take that out, and then I'll probably get 4 or 5 years before my foot decides to make more of that bone spur. Well, the bone spurs will start returning almost immediately, but I guess to where they're noticeable, it'll take some time. And I said, well, if you're removing the problem, why does the problem come back? And she said, well, I'm removing what the impingement is. She said that what would happen is, because there's limited tissue left, cartilage, meniscus, whatever. I don't know if it's considered a meniscus when it's in between your toes. So don't hold me to that, all 2 of you that are still watching, or that will watch this. But the piece in there, the bone rubs, and then to protect itself, the bone makes bone spurs. And then those bone spurs cause problems. And then that's where we end up where I'm at. Okay. This is my least favorite part of these kits. I questioned myself on the orientation of the board multiple times. I questioned myself on basically everything. But what this here is a big length of wire. I guess I can put this aside while I do this. Now, you get 2 feet of wire with this. And with this, you have to make 6 2-inch sections and 1 9-inch section. So for me, 2 inches is about here to here. So if I go like this, on this wire, and I cut 6 of these, this part and then the very next part are my least favorite. I do not like putting, well, no, I shouldn't say the next part. This part and the LED part are the parts that I feel the dumbest doing. Okay, so I have 6 roughly the same piece or same size pieces of wire. And then I need 9 1-inch sections. So 1 inch is about here to here for me. It would probably increase the price of the kit to a stupid level, but I would not be offended by a ribbon connector for this. Okay, I think that's 9. 3, 6, 9. Okay. I'm going to put the 1-inch pieces over here for now. Bring my PCB back. Okay. The 2-inch sections will attach the in, out, and DC jacks at the top of the PCB, and the 1-inch sections will attach the breakout board at the center, to the bottom center of the PCB. Insert the stripped ends of the wires into the holes on the component side of the PCB and solder them on the back. So the wires are going to go like this through the top, and we'll flip it and solder them to the back. I'm going to do the long pieces first, and then I will do the short pieces. Now you can pre-strip these if you want to on both sides. And for the 2-inch pieces, that's not a bad idea. On the 1-inch pieces, since there might be just a tiny bit of difference between them, I wait until they're installed because I'm going to cut them to length to make it one piece, one length for everything, because I want it to fold over very nicely. And all this is doing is just giving it a little bit to hold it in place while I get the solder on it. I didn't like how that wire was going in. I just want to check these joints. They look good. Cut the excess off here. So I was telling you about Fred Barish. I remember he used to come in, he was a bow hunter. And he used Fred Bear bows. And he said they were made for him by Fred Bear because they had such a similar name. It's bullshit. They obviously they weren't. But it's funny how those things stick with you. I remember in my biology class something that stuck with me, and it's actually, you know, I guess meme worthy in some cases. In modern day, the comment, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I saw that on a Chubby Eve video, and it reminded me of Parasite Eve in my biology class. Parasite Eve was a role-playing game by Square Enix. Okay, so remember what I said about feeling stupid. I'm gonna use fresh tape for this too. This side will do it to you. I'm going to be highly disappointed if this goddamn thing doesn't work. I just thought about that. You know, what happens? You build this pedal straight through in one video and it doesn't work. I might just upload it and then follow it with a video of me smashing it. And then I wanted to give it to my friend as a gift, so I'll send him the pieces. Oh, God. Okay, let's get some of these pieces of wire out of the way. Okay, so what it shows us doing here, put all these in, and then you put them through the other side and tape it. And that's, things just go really crazy for me there. I always do a crap job. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try. We'll see if I can make my old electrical engineering teacher happy with me. The answer is probably no. There's more than one time that dude yelled at me. So there's this one time. There's a kid in my class, Corson was his last name. And we had just gotten new workstations, multimeter, scope, power supply. These things were, at the time, it was a big deal that we actually got new equipment, and we got out of like the Cold War era equipment that we had there. And it was great. But we had these new assigned seats, and the instructor, he said, every one of you, if you're not in your seat, and I forget what it was, let's say 10 seconds, there's going to be an issue. So we all go scramble over to get in our seats, and Corson's in my seat. And Mr. Barish says, Lynn, you're not in your seat. And I said, Corson's in my seat. And he said, Lynn, you're not in your seat. And he just kept saying it. And I thought, oh man, I don't know what to do. So I grabbed the chair by the end and I tipped it. And then Corson fell out of the chair and I got in it. And then he yelled, Corson, you're not in your seat. Part of me thinks that Fred knew that I was going to do that. And the other part of me thinks that Corson didn't think I would do it. or didn't know it would happen. Maybe another part thinks that Fred didn't think I would actually do it, but I didn't know what to do. And of course, it didn't get hurt. Him and I used to skateboard together. He's pretty cool. And he was tough as heck too. I remember one time him going down skateboarding and he took his front teeth out and he just got up and he's like, wow, that's not good. Both his front teeth. Boom, out. Skateboarding accident. So those wires are in. Let's go like this. Now I'm going to strip them all. So I'm going to strip them and then I'm going to cut the top ends all to be the same length. So if I turn it this way, I roll these back a little bit, you can see that these aren't all the same length. They're close, but if they're all the same, it'll make the next step a lot simpler. I was trying to line that up so get it the same height. I'm doing this in the holder, so I'm not thinking of taking the work off camera as I so often do. Probably make it quicker if I did, so you'll just have to live with it. I haven't done it for most of the video. Only 5 more to go. Yes, I just marked to see how far down I'm stripping off. Figured that was easier than taking it to the side and trying to line it up. And these things, like I said, they don't need to be exact on the length. They got to be close though, because it'll make your life a whole hell of a lot easier, especially for the part where you're trying to line up the PCB legs and the socket and the casing itself. What the hell was that? Well, that was an LED, I bet. There it is. Oh. You probably didn't see it because I think it was off camera, but I knocked the LED on the floor. All right. So you see my stripping is all about the same length. I'm going to take just a little bit off the highest wires here, so they're all the same length. Because again, it makes lining this up so much easier. Okay, so now you have this piece here, okay, and you have this board. Align the PCB breakout board component side up, so this is up. Guide the lead wires coming out of the PCB through the holes in the breakout board. Now tape the leads down to prevent the breakout board component side, to the breakout board on the component side to prevent them from slipping out of the holes. Carefully flip the PCB breakout board over and solder the wires in place on the board. Once the solder joints have cooled, remove the tape. Okay. Now if you notice here, this is a tricky part of the step. This thing says this side down. Well, what down does it mean? Does it mean down as I do this? Does it mean down in the pedal casing side? Is it down pedal casing side when I'm this way? Or is it down this way? So they don't say But if you go to the other page right here where it shows a picture, if you look at this, these components are facing up towards you. The pots go this way. So the legs of the pots are going to be coming up like this. Down means this way because there's the battery cutout. So when you put these in, these wires need to go like this. And then it'll fold over. And this is where it's tricky because you're lining up 9 wires in these holes. And then you tape it in place and then solder it. I usually get frustrated and do this a couple at a time. But I'm kind of irritated and I want to see if I can do this in one shot. Okay, now, so I don't lose my ever-loving mind, I don't even know how in the hell you tape these in place. Here's what I'm gonna do. Oh, don't lose it, Rob, don't lose it. Then you will be mad. I'm just gonna do it like that. Forget that tape. Now, a lot of these components are forgiving if you have your solder on it for too long. One of the things that isn't is this StewMac wire. The insulation will melt very quickly to let you know that you've been on it for too long. So, work quickly and accurately here. Channel your inner Larry Hahn in the very efficient carpenter. I just want to bring this up to look at it. Okay, they all look good. See if I can get that to focus on this. I'd like to show you where we're at so far. So things look pretty good so far here. Okay, gonna cut the excess off of this. Now that it's cooled, just gonna step over here for 1 second and do it. Just one little piece of wire that I didn't get there. All right, we are back. So there's that. Okay. So these will be out of our way for just a moment. The next step here, so we just finished this. We're going to come to this part here. But before we do that, we're going to do a little housekeeping. So move this to the side for a second. We're going to get some things out for now. So let's get that aside, that aside. I don't need that. I will need these here shortly. So as soon as you open these, take one of the nuts and thread it on. Don't forget to do that. There's a lock washer, a regular nut, and a regular washer. The lock washer will go inside the case. The regular washer and the other nut will go on the outside of the case. So just remember, thread both these in before you get started. Okay. Oh, wait, these ones have the serrations on it. Some of the bags have serrations and some don't. Okay, and there's a stereo jack. Well, TRS. You know, same for the use when you call it. You go, if you said to someone, "Give me a stereo jack," you'd get a tip ring sleeve. TRS is what that is. The other one's TS, so tip sleeve. Okay, so the housekeeping part on these pots. There's an indexing tab. We're going to remove them. But before doing that, 100, 100, 100, 100, and these are both 25s in. This is a little test you can do. If you want to check the value of your pots and they're not labeled, you can use a meter, measure the outer lugs. So this is 27.2, 25.7. So these are within the percentage for a 25K pot. Now, just doing this again here, just to show you, 27.2, 25.7. So they're both 25K pots, but they have a different value. So sometimes people will say, oh, this pedal sounded better than that one. It's the same damn thing. It's just the component tolerances are different. 91.7. 97.9, 95, 100.6. You see how these are all 100K pots, but they have a different value. The other thing I want to do, I just want to take my fingers through the travel to make sure that they turn freely. The reason for this is I built one of these kits and there was 3 spots in the one pot that would go clunk, clunk, clunk. So it made you think that the pot was all the way up or all the way down, but here it wasn't. Okay, so no dead spots, nothing like that. These indexing pins, we don't need them for our application, so they can just bust right off. You want to do that before you solder them in, because once you solder them in and then you go to put your pedal together, why isn't this working? And then, I mean, you could do it after, but it just makes sense to do it now. Okay, so the indexing pins are all broke off. Now, sort these for what they are. A100K, B100, B100, A100. So these are also them B25s. Okay. I have to take the nut and the washer off. Okay, so there's those. Now I'll move this to the side for a second. So what it wants you to do is it wants you to place these into the case. So you're going to make a work platform is what you're doing. So our first one that goes in is a B100K, it goes right here. Then an A100, then a B100, then an A100, and I bet you can't guess what goes here. B25, bingo. All right. Now, does it say it on this? No, it's the next page that says it. No, right there it is. If any of the tone pots do not have a plastic cap, attach adhesive foam tape to insulate the back of the pots from the soldered leads on the other part of the PCB. These are the tone pots in this, and that's why they give you these pieces here. Okay. Remove the nuts and washers from the 6 pots and insert their threaded shafts into the blah, blah, blah. Reattach the nuts and washers inside. So what you're going to do, you're going to go like this. Flip this guy over. You can just put them on loose for now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm get an implement, just tighten these a little bit, make it easier than looking like a dum-dum trying to spin my hand. Hey, who do you think you are, buddy? You want them tight enough that it's difficult to move them, but loose enough that with a little bit of pressure without bending the legs you can turn it, because you want to make it so you can line up the components well. So try and just line these up, get them all in. It's the same thing as doing that breakout board. You get your pieces, you find out what will go in freely, what won't, what's holding what up there, and then you just bend it accordingly. Line it up proper. I find that I end up trying to stand over my work rather than getting in front of it too often. Okay, so the bottom two are lined up decent, and then with that I can kind of do this to line these up. And then kind of slide that around and see if these are all on the same axis, I guess. Where am I binding at? Okay. Now what I want to do is just a little bit, twist this just a little bit. Take a look at this from this end. That's how that should look. Okay, it's time to solder the pots. If you wanted to, you could put flux on the pot ends. I haven't felt the need to with this. I use rosin core solder. You know, using a good product. Maybe I am. Oh, my meter went to sleep for a second. Hold on. Not my meter, my iron went on standby since I was messing with that for so long. It'll come right back up quick. I was wondering why it wasn't soldering. $300, $500, $570, $600, $650, $690, $715. All right. I forgot all about standby mode. Mr. Bearish always said you could tell if I soldered a pot because I use a deal of solder on it. Damn it, Lynn. You could solder an entire TV set with that much solder. Just picking this up to look at it, make sure all these joints are good. Yep, okay. So this has been done. Remove the nuts and washers on the pots to free the PCB group of the parts from the housing. Reattach the nuts and washers to the pots and switch. Exactly like we did in step 11, we're going to use our housing to attach the foot switch. So like so. So the foot switches, they're going to go down through the front and stick up. If you look here, align the holes on the breakout board with the lugs on the foot switch. Rotate the PCB, pots, breakout board, and foot switch until the pots rest somewhere comfortably on the outside of the housing, and solder. Make sure all the lugs are through the holes, blah, 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 blah. Just like that. And like that. All right, now, just to keep your stuff from moving, you put a nut on there. I usually do the switches outside. I find it's easier for me to do that way, but I'm just following the instructions exactly today. This is about the only step I didn't do spot on. My pedal didn't work. I don't think that's why, but you know, I've been wrong before. Now what I do here is I move the book. I don't want the solder to be like, I'm using the solder to hold this down. They're all going to hold together because of it. It's, you know, essentially a weld. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first bit on like this. And then once that's cold, I'll come over to this side, do the same thing. Then I'll do the rest of the connections like so. Those are beautiful looking joints. Once the solder is cooled from the lugs, remove the washer and nut from the foot switch and remove the PCB breakout boards from the pots in the housing. Reattach the washers so they don't get lost. Don't tell me what to do. So, spin this off. Same with the other one. Just getting these off here. This one likes to fight me. We're getting near the end here, folks. We're going to find out if I smash this thing and tell my friend to buy some goddamn gigatone. Or if we have a successful mission here. Oh, man. It's going to be... I hope it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to feel like a real doofus. What'd you do today? I recorded a video of me building a pedal that doesn't work. What'd you do? I did something productive. Built something that works. All right, so that looks pretty good there. That's a pretty good looking thing. So now, you got to thread your battery thing through. And the reason you're doing it here is because it makes it easier to get to the back of the pots later. Or makes it easier to get under here. Because if you try and thread this through, you just have to fight underneath the components and everything. Or if you just go like so, you put it there. Now you don't have to go underneath it. Now, the thing that you can do is, I didn't do it on other ones I built, but let's say like you know, like this is all the more you're going to need to pull out. You can take and you can tie a knot. Instructions show it, so you don't pull it off of anything, right? So you can pull up here. It needs to be a little bit shorter. I didn't worry about it on the other ones because I don't use batteries, and most people I know aren't using batteries for their pedals. You could do it like that. But like I said, I didn't care about doing it before. This is the part that just sucks. Okay, so with your LEDs, you have what's called an anode and a cathode, and they're often marked on schematics with, or not schematics, on breakout boards with an A or a K. And that tells you which side goes into which leg. The positive is the longer end. But before we do that, we're going to put the bezels in the pedal. These thread through just like this. This guy goes right here on top. Your anode's the positive leg, so your longer leg is going to go in the A slot, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. Maybe, if I can thread this stupid thing on. Sorry, I'm working off camera here. I don't mean to. Okay, so the fun part, and I said it makes everyone, what makes me look stupid. So you thread, oh, this can get out of the way here. You want to put this through here. We'll want these to be about the distance apart that the holes are. That'll make it easier. When you put this in, the positive wire, the longer wire, faces to the right, to the center. So shorter wire here, longer wire this way. And on the other LED, you're going to do the same thing, just reverse it. So instead of the longer wire being on the right, the longer wire will be on the lead. The longer lead will be on the left. So again, both of the long leads are towards the center of the pedal. And you want to try and do this without too much fiddling around with the leads like I've done, because you want to be able to just drop this right on. So if we are lucky, these will drop on. And what I would advise you to not do not force this, do not bend it. Just see if you can get them through. And if you can get them through, you're lined up well. If not, then just gently lay them over, see if you can get your eyes on it, see which leg's touching, and use your pliers to guide it through if you have to. But this is the part that it sucks. Okay, that's both sides through. All right. Now we're in the money. So both sides of those are through. Okay, we're good. We're good. Oh, don't do that, Robert. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be dumb. We're going to do something first. We're going to be smart. We were already dumb. Son of a bitch. I just remembered what I forgot. I didn't put those washers underneath the switches. So you know what we're going to do? We're not going to try and fight it since those LEDs went in nice. We're just going to do it right. Oh, I was hoping I could do it without losing my spot on the LED, but apparently just pulled it up just enough that come on. It's one in. Let's get these back in where they need to go. Come on, we did that so nice. We went in so nice that first time. I won't even call you any names if you just go back in real nice. I should have said who cares about the lock washers. No. Remember what I said about the LED legs? You don't want them to bend with too much fanfare. There we are. We're back in business. Oh, I was getting ready to start swearing. I was getting ready to throw this thing. But we are in the money. This is good news. This is good news. Put this guy on. That's probably the single best time I've ever did on the, that was a broken English sentence. That was probably the single best effort I've ever made in installing the LEDs on one of these, just lining it up just right. And that's why that step before matters so much. That step before is where we lined up all of the pots. We lined up all of the switches. I don't know why I had a brain fart on that. And we used the, oh, here we are with this nonsense. But you want to try and make sure that, let's see here. I knew it. Knew it. Let's see, is it your fault? I don't know what it is with some of these, why they're like just a fraction different. When you're tightening these down, they don't have to be like rated for construction work. What in the hell am I doing here? Let's see. What are the problem ones? Is it you? Does this slide over that? Yep. And there we are. Now it's time to solder these LEDs. There are only a few more steps to go. Help if I touch the component, huh? That's a thing of beauty. When I cut the LED legs, I leave the positive one a little bit longer, just as a visual. I don't really know why, but I do. So our battery thing can go right there, because we're not going to use it. Now it's time to put some jacks in. Very first thing is going to be our power jack. I don't know why I'm chasing this thing. You ever do that? You're doing a job and you're just like, this is not very intelligent. And you keep doing it. Oh, welcome to my life. I could get one of those thin wrenches up there, but this doesn't need to be like torque spec tight there. Okay, so on this here, make sure it's focused down there. Got to get the strippers out. Okay, the negative goes here. Positive goes on the other end there. Wire out of there. When you're cutting wires inside the casing, make sure to remove any excess pieces. You don't want to have a short later. Let's say you have a piece of metal in there, you don't realize it. You have a short, your pedal doesn't work, you take it apart, the metal falls out, you look at it, you can't figure it out, you put it back together, and it works. And you're like, what the hell was it? And then you're going to doubt the thing forever. The dude that I'm building this for, he has a habit of being able to stand on one leg, rub his tummy, fart in the direction of the wind, and then find a noise that'll never be made again, and then wonder why it's making it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not that smart, man. And why are you messing with me? It's just, I'm not that smart. I'm sorry. So I want to make sure I don't have any issues here. He's probably going to watch this video and make sure I didn't screw up too. Got some bad news for him. I'm going to be screwing up. Nah, I don't think we did. I think this is going to work just fine. Going to find out real quick though. We're seriously at the very final stretch of this. This is literally it. It's connect these two, connect those two. Plug it in, make sure it doesn't catch on fire first, and then if that works out, plug a cable into it and see if we have sound. Okay, that's connected. The ground goes to the sleeve on this. The input goes to our remaining lug. Next jack here. You skip these steps because this is if it's different type of pedal. Different jack. So, and the other one, it doesn't have a battery terminal, but this does. And again, ground goes to the sleeve. Output goes to the tip. Okay, now let's find out here. That light's going to flicker for a second. Back on. Boom, that's good news there. Okay, I got a guitar here. Now, not doing a tone test. This is just using a little piece of crap USB speaker. Well, I don't want to say it's a piece of crap. It does what it does well. It's actually a decent little jamming amp for fun, but is this on clean or overdrive? Overdrive, clean. All right, let's get some volume. So this is our pass-through tone here. And put the first one on. Turn our knobs down a little bit. Now you're hearing a little bit of static come through, and that's because this speaker is picking up my soldering station. There we have it, it works. So in good shape here. Set my guitar down, get these cables and stuff out of the way. So that's the main build. Okay, the main part is done. If you stuck around or even just tuned in for a little bit, I really appreciate it. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is just put the finishing touches on tightening things down. Make sure everything's good and tight. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super, super tight. So bring this up to you to show you what the finished board should look like inside. That is completed, and we verified it functions. So the next steps are right here, the trim pot adjustments. So trim pot adjustments. The default trim pot setting is all the way to the right. To adjust the high frequency shaping to your liking, turn the set screw to the left and set to your personal taste. So for my friend, what I'm going to do, is this the right size? We'll find out. I'm just going to turn those both all the way to the right. While I'm thinking of it, since I don't need the solder anymore, turn off my iron and tin my tip and let that sit. What I like to do when I'm done with my soldering iron is I clean the tip of the soldering iron, and then I turn the iron off, and then I apply solder to it, and then as it cools, everything will be situated pretty nice. Okay, so this adjustment has been performed, and let's see here, I'm going to get a razor blade. I'm going to do this. And then also, so analog man setting on the dip switches, we're just going to leave them all down. Now the reason I cut these separate is because all this stuff's not going to fit neat in the back there. So what I want to do is tape these to the back of this casing inside. And I'll make this fit so it's all there. Let's go like this. Can I fit them both that way? Almost. But I'm going to tape them inside so my friend knows what everything does. So his request to me was, at first it was a white case, and then when I had the issues I had, he said, you know, I was actually thinking of a metal one anyway. Here we are. So metal case, I'll install these. He didn't want the decals on, and he wants me to sign it. That's it. So thank you for watching this video. If you stuck around this long or even tuned in for a little bit, I appreciate it. I hope you stick around for the next one when I build another pedal kit, and I hope it goes as smoothly as this one did. Thanks.